Hello everyone, welcome back to another lesson on learning computer science in Python with the Turtle module. Well, today we're actually going to step a little outside of the Turtle module because I really want to get into some of the nitty gritty of how this stuff works. So we got a lot to do. Bear with me. Let's get after it. I want to continue talking about loops. So following along in my workbook, we're still in lesson 4. This is like lesson 4 part B. So let's start with a review of a while loop. So I just made a file here called loops.py. And I'm going to say x equals 5. And while x is less than 20, I want to print x. And then I'm going to use x plus equals 1. Now, in the last video, we used our hands to count, but we can actually view them in Thonny by going View, and we want to turn on variables. So you can actually view your variable. This is from a different time I ran it. It's not anything yet. And then let's click on the debug and let's watch what happens. Okay, so notice I have no variables at this point in the program. So we'll click the step over, and it has now been done. And you can see over here that I have an x and its value is 5. So the x is the name of the variable and its value is 5. Now we're going to step into this while loop, and it says x less than 20. That is true. And we can keep going further in. It'll actually show us exactly what it's doing. So I'm going to step in a little even closer. Replaces the x with a 5, then 20. 5 is less than 20, right? So that is true. So that's a lot of detail there, but if you really want to see how this works out, that's the way to do it. Now I'm going to print x. Now this is a new command for us. Print simply is going to print down here in my shell or to the console, whatever your standard output is. So we're not doing any graphics, just regular text-based printing, but it's going to help us learn. So that's a new function for you. It's just a word print, and then you put inside the parentheses what you want to print. Okay? So let's step into it since it's our first time. All right, so x is going to be replaced with a 5. It's going to now call the print5 method, and you'll notice it gives me a none. And that's going to be important to us later on. It's showing me that it's not returning anything to me. More on that later. Just wanted to explain that. All right, so we'll step over to x plus equals 1. Watch the x carefully. We just printed the x. You'll see there's a 5 down here in my shell, right? But now we're going to x plus equals is going to take x, is going to add 1 to it, and now you can see that x is a 6 over here in my variables, okay? All right, let's keep going. All right, x is less than 20. I won't go into that one again. Now we'll see a 6 get printed to the console, and the x becomes a 7. Is 7 less than 20? You betcha it is, so we keep going. Notice it goes back to that condition every time. Checks it every time. X less than 20. Now x is 8. That is a true statement. Prints the 8. Continues. Is x less than 20? Yes. Print 9. 9 becomes 10. Okay? Prints the 10. Then x becomes 11. Print the 11. All right? Now I'm going to go ahead and go all the way out to the end. Okay? So as soon as this is false, when x equaled 20, you can see over here that x does reach a value of 20. X less than 20 is not true, and it exits the loop. All right, let's do another one. All right, this time I'm going to say x equals 20. And I'm going to say while x is greater than 0, I want to do x minus equals 5 and print the x. So a couple things here. First of all, I am decreasing. I'm using the minus equals. So we should see x decrease by 5 each time. Notice I'm doing it before I print. So see how that affects what we print out here. Let me just clear all that. All right, so let's run the debugger. All right, creates the x variable 20. Let's step into the while loop. Okay, that's true. X is going to be decreased by 5. minus equals 5. You see now x became a 15. Let me print the x, and you see it prints a 15 right there. Okay? Let's go again. 15 is greater than 0. Take down by 5, now x is 10. I print the 10. All right? We take it down again. Now x is 10. Now x became a 5. And now we print it. Okay, 5 is greater than 0. That's true. Here we are now in this statement. We're going to run that statement. We should see the x become 0. And we'll print the 0. Now let's step into this one. X is a 0. 0 is not greater than 0. That's false. Because it's false, we exit the loop. So a little different there. You might think we're not going to print a 0. You think you might print a 20 down the 5, but we do print the 0 because we decrease by 5 before we print it. So where you decrease makes a lot of difference. So speaking of math, let's do a little bit of math in the interactive shell. All right? I'll just close the variable list for now. So let's take a look at it. Let's say I have x equals 4. Oh, you know what? Fine. You know what? It's not going to hurt me to have my variables there. There's x equals 4. And then I'm going to say x equals x times 2. You can see the x becomes a 8, right? Well, there's a shortcut operator for that. There's x times equals. Again, it's always the operator then the equals. Let's do by 3. 8 times 3 is 24. Okay? Now, let's divide x. I'll do x divided by 2. Notice something. What happened? Look at my variable x over there. It's not 12, it's 12.0. We've had a significant change in the type of the variable. It used to be an integer, now it's a real number. And that's because Python will always use real number division. As soon as you tell it to divide, that will happen. All right, so let me just show that with some numbers. So 8 divided by 2, the result is 4.0. And it's just showing me the result right there. If I do 8 divide 2, that's a special operator that means integer divide, which gives you the quotient. Without a decimal, no remainder. But you need to be careful with that. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. But what would 7 divide 2 be? 3. See, it doesn't give me a decimal. 1 divide 2 is 0, because 2 doesn't go in the 1. So, some things to consider. While we're at it, let's go ahead and make sure we know how to find a power. We know how to divide, we know how to multiply. We know that dividing causes us to get that decimal. So let's try 3 times 2. What is that? That means 3 to the power of 2. So that is 3 to the second power. It's 9. That is not this. Don't do that. That is a very different thing. 3. That is no. I don't want you looking at that. That's not what that is. So 3 times 2. That's how you do exponents. 4 times 2. All right. How would you square root? Well, you actually have to use a math class to do that. You have to import math. And so I can say from math import star. And you'll notice that I automatically list them on these variables. These are all these things that I just inherited. So you see what importing does, right? It brings in a lot of stuff, doesn't it? But you can see I've got all these different things available to me now that I imported math. There's pi. I'm trying to find one that I want. I think I want the square root. There it is, square root. Built-in function. So let's try it. Squirt 16. Notice it returns a real number, so it's got that decimal. It's kind of neat though, right? I mean, that all of a sudden, when you look at these variables, all these different things that you get available to you as soon as you import math. All right. What's next? Well, it's time for us to talk about the other kind of loop that we're supposed to learn in lesson 4. That is the for loop. So let's let me just see here. I want to restart the shell. I'll just stop. Okay. Restarted the shell. Okay. So for, it's typically I for iteration or index. For I in range 5. And I'm just going to say print high. Okay, so for I in range, and then in the range is a function, and it returns a range from 0 to 5 with a colon after it, and then print 5 and what print high. And what should happen is this should print to my console. Let me clear that out. This should print to my shell down here high 5 times. So let's watch that do that. Let's run our debugger. You'll know we're gonna have to step into it. So the first thing it's going to do is calculate range of 5, okay? And it actually converts it to a range from 0 to 5. And we'll see that later. But it's meaning that if you just put in a number, it automatically knows it means from 0 to 5. So what's the first thing it returns? It returns a 0. So I is now 0. Watch how that happens. See how I became 0 when we finish that. And we'll print high. Now I becomes a 1. That's what that line does. See how I became a 1. And we print. Then I becomes a 2. We print. I becomes a 3. Then a 4. And then that's it. Because the range only goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but that's 5 numbers. We saw that earlier with the while that we start at 0 and do less than 5. Well, the range automatically does that. Starts at 0 and ends at 5. I just want to change this. I want to say that I could print the I values. They really are values, not just these abstract variables. Let's debug it. Step into. Step over. I becomes 0. 1. Notice down here that I'm printing. Down here it's printing the 0, the 1, the 2. I became a 3, and then we print it. I becomes a 4, we print it, and we're done. All right, so a little bit of a difference there is that when we ran our while loop, we'd say stuff like, just want to point that out, if we had like x equals 0, and I said while x is less than 5, print x, when we do that, let me step over this first code right quick. Oh, hold on. I forgot to increase x. Sorry. All right, debug. So I'm just going to step over that and let it finish. So I ends up being 4, okay? And then here, we're going to run, and you're going to see x turn to 2, to 3, to 4. Now x becomes a 5. That becomes a false statement. And only when it's a false statement does it quit. But I want to point something out. That, yeah, they both printed the numbers 0 through 4, just as we think. But look at their final value. The final value for I is 4. The final value for x is 5. So in the range, it never actually reaches that 5. With the while loop, it does, and then it exits. So it's just a little bit different way of behaving. Okay, I really hope that you don't think that it has to be the letter I. I could put anything I want. I could put X. I could put banana. How do you spell banana? Has it got two? It's got 2 N's or somewhere. I mean, it's got 2 N's. Did not have them 2 in a row. Anyway, that's banana. It's close as I'm going to come up with it. I always say, computer science, you don't have to spell right. You should spell the same way every time. All right, little joke, yeah. So let's just run that right quick. So I just want you to see that. Okay, I'm printing the wrong thing. All right, sorry. Run that again. Get rid of that ugly errors. Y'all have never seen one of those, right? You've never gotten an error. All right, so you can see that code doesn't matter what that is. Whatever I put there, that's the variable to use. But we typically use I or counter or something like that. So the next thing I want to show you, I'm gonna go back to a more reasonable variable, is that I can tell it a different starting number. Remember we saw that it called range 0 to 5? Now I can put in a 1 to 5, and you'll see that I'll go back into my debugger, that I starts at 1 now, but still will not include the 5. So it starts at that first number, goes up to, but does not include that last number. Okay? Now, one more thing I can do with this for I in range, I can change this. I can put a comma 2 or 3. This is what you change by. So this is what you start. This is when you stop. This is what you go by. So let me do 2 to 11 by 3. And you'll notice when I run it, it's 258, right? Let's debug it though. So 2, I is a 2, it prints it. Now I becomes a 5. See, I becomes a 5 because it's going up by that last amount, that 3. Okay? So this gives us a really simple way to do and accomplish lots of tasks with this I loop. Let's take a look at how we can use it to do something with our turtle. So first I need to import my turtle, and I'm not going to look at all those. Once I import, it's going to be a lot of statements. So from turtle, import star. And let's do a for loop. For I in range 4. I'm going to say forward 50, left 90. Let's see what happens. Hey, I'm in a square, right? Now, I know that y'all are thinking, okay, this is great and all. Well, can you show me anything really cool? Well, yes, I can. Watch this. I am going to do for I in range 20, and I'm going to make a circle of radius 40. Then I'm going to turn left a part of it. If I'm going to do it 20 times, I'm going to divide 360 by 20, so I turn left that amount each time. And now I got like a cool spirograph. If you add in a change in color here, you know, and my hands are free, right? This is programming. I mean, it's doing stuff for me. It's accomplishing a task. It's making something cool. I mean, come on, that's pretty cool, right? By the way, some of you may have found that you can maybe speed up your turtle, and I'll let you look into that more. We will get to that at some point. You can even draw this instantly. You can completely turn off the buffering so that it's just boom, draws it almost instantly. That is. Anyway, so I hope you enjoy that. Play around with that. You can do some pretty cool things. All right, next thing though, and I promise we'll come back. We'll do another cool thing. We need to look at loops within loops. So here we go on that one. I'm going to say for I in range 5. Then inside that, I'm going to say for K in range 5. And I want you to see what I'm doing. I'm print I comma K. So it's going to print. Let's view our variables again. It's going to get rid of that. Those are all my turtle variables. So I'm going to print the I and then the K. I want you to see how this works out. So let's step into it. I'll be 0. Let's step into that. So K is 0. So now we got two variables. I is 0 and K is 0. And I'm going to print. I print 0, 0. Now watch what happens. We're still inside that I loop. Notice it only went back to the K loop. It's going to work its way around. So look, K became a 1. Can you see that over here on the variables? Then K becomes a 2. Then K becomes a 3. Then K becomes a 4. It won't be a 5 though. Remember, it doesn't include that last number. And so where's it going to go now? Finally, it goes back to the I. I becomes a 1. Now the I is finally a 1. What's going to happen here? This is brand new. Now it starts over. Watch what happens to K. It's going to start over. Oh, I stepped out of it. Dang it. Okay. Well, now we're at the I of 2. It's okay. It's the same thing. Step into. Okay, here we go. See this? K gets reset to 0. Do you see that? And then 1, So you can see that happening. These numbers on the left of my printout are slowly increasing while the K goes through each one at a time. Then finally we get up to 4, and we continue. So always use that debugger. Turn on your variables when you want to look at them if it's not overwhelming, and you can see them and really understand what's going on. Loops within loops are really powerful. How powerful? Well, I'll show you. Watch this. For I in range 20, for I in range 4, no, you know what? I don't want to do that. I'm going to do 3. And I'm going to say, no. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just getting excited. 6. All right. So I'm going to say forward 20. Nah, let's make it a little bigger. 40. And if I rotate 360 degrees 6 times, then what I get is a hexagon. So I'm going to turn left 60 degrees. So the turtle's going to go forward. Then it's going to turn left, forward, left, forward. So 60 times 6 is 360. That'll be a complete turnaround, right? After it's done all that, I'm going to turn left 360 divided by 20. And yes, I could figure out what that is, right? But I want to show you that I don't have to. I can let Python do the math for me, right? Could have also put 360 over 6 there. Everything being that one complete turnaround. Let's watch it go. Oh, you know what? I forgot to import my turtle. I know. It's yelling at me. Try it again. Hey, it's the same thing we did before, but it's not a circle, it's a hexagon. See that? It's making a hexagon and then turning just a little bit. All right. Maybe it's not something brand new because we just made it. But you know what? You should make your own thing, right? You know, the thing about loops is once you've got them written, you can just completely play with the code and just throw in random things that make it do something cool. So yeah, I'm turning left, but what if I also added a forward 10? What does that do? You know, what does that do? Oh. I don't know. I like it. Didn't know what it was going to be. Kind of makes kind of this weird little teardroppy kind of thing in the middle. It's slowly filling it in though. Oh, we're going to have a hole in the middle. Now, doesn't this make geometry class more interesting? All right. Well, anyway, I really hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I know there was a lot, some of it kind of dry, but that's programming. Loops. That's what we do. We want the computer to do the work for us. Look at these cool things we can make with such a small amount of writing. All right, so we're going to continue with the exercises from Lesson 4. This was kind of our second part of Lesson 4. Until I see you again in Lesson 5, take care.